I don't know why, but I've been thinking a lot today about the Black Codes, which were laws that rose up in former Confederate states right after the Civil War ended, so 1865, 1866. These laws were intended to police the newly freed Black population of these southern states. And basically, what they did is they took all of the slave codes that they could still apply and kind of just changed the word from slave to Black person, a different word at the time. I'll give you some examples in a second, but the reason I've been thinking about this a lot lately is that to me, it seems like evidence of kind of a dying civilization, a group of people whose way of life is gone or is obsolete, and it's becoming clear to them that their way of life is obsolete. In this case, we're talking about the kind of Confederate South, this like planter aristocracy who all of a sudden is losing their most valuable resource, their free labor. And they're realizing that just like the general consensus, not just in their country, but eventually also around the world, is rising against them. It's saying like the things that you're doing are not okay, and we're not going to keep doing those in this like future country that we're looking towards. And they feel threatened and defensive. And so they have to pass these like incredibly oppressive laws to continue to forcefully assert their superiority, because they know that without them, we'll find out that they aren't superior at all. So here are some examples of Black codes that were passed just in the state legislature of Mississippi. One of the biggest ones was that you couldn't be unemployed. So basically, if anyone, but especially if law enforcement, they were former slave catchers and then they became Southern police forces, if they saw a Black person out during the day, they were like, why aren't you working? You're supposed to be working, and they could throw you in prison. And guess what? They could then use your prison labor as slave labor, right? The 13th Amendment only abolished slavery except as punishment for a crime. This is what we talk about if you've seen 13th or you've read Michelle Alexander and like the criminalization of Blackness, that they just needed to find another way to basically put mostly Black men kind of back in chains. You couldn't have a public meeting of Black people without written permission from the government, and you couldn't have any sort of public meeting, like gathering of Black people after sunset. You couldn't be a state representative. It just said like no person shall be a representative of Mississippi unless you're a white man. That's like literally what it says. Here's some other examples you can pause and read. But what I'm describing to you is a society in which it was perfectly legal and actually encouraged for white people, especially law enforcement, to determine if someone was legal or not based entirely on the color of their skin.